Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's special Last Post ceremony. My name is Jennifer Surtees, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1 Joanne Davey. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Harris Martin Sharp, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland. We would also like to take a moment to consider and pay respect to the many professional and volunteer firefighters who are out in the thick of the bushfires, working in the most challenging and dangerous of conditions to keep people and places and communities safe. We thank you for your commitment and service, which reflects the essence of the Australian spirit, a spirit that we also showcase here in the stories at the Australian War Memorial. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story of just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. Following the reading of the story of Sergeant Harris Martin Sharp, family members will lay wreaths at his photograph.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Harris Martin Sharp. Harris Sharp was born on the 18th of September 1895, the eldest of 5 sons born to Joseph and Alice Sharp of Hamilton in Newcastle in New South Wales. Sharp attended a local school in Hamilton before moving with his family to live in Sydney in the suburb of Tempe. There he attended Sydney Boys High School and later worked as a clerk. Sharp was also active in the local militia forces. He served for 3 years as a cadet and 3 years in the Citizens Militia Forces. He also served for 2 years as a Staff Sergeant Major with the Australian Instructional Forces. Sharp enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 15th of February 1917 and began training at Liverpool in Sydney's south. On the 14th of June 1917, he embarked from Sydney aboard the troop ship Hararata with reinforcements for the 2nd Infantry Battalion. 2 months later, he arrived in England and continued training. On account of his previous military experience, he attained the rank of sergeant on enlistment and was made sergeant in command at the School of Instruction at the Jalalabad Barracks in Taunton. After 2 short stints in hospital with bronchitis and a throat infection, Sharp departed from England on the 30th of January 1918, bound for France in the war on the Western Front. Sharp joined B Company on the 2nd Infantry Battalion when they were training and resting behind the lines near Meriton in northern France, near the border with Belgium. He spent the next 5 months experiencing the horrors and hardships of trench warfare. Sharp and his unit spent their time either in relief behind the lines or manning the front line and enduring intermittent German artillery, gas and machine gun fire. From March 1918 onwards, Sharp and the 2nd Battalion faced increased enemy artillery fire and occasional raids that formed part of the Spring Offensive, Germany's last attempt to break the stalemate on the Western Front and end the war. At 12:30 a.m. on the 24th of June, Sharp and the 2nd Battalion conducted an attack on German lines designed to straighten out part of the front line near Marathon in France. The attack was a success for the Australian forces. They gained all their objectives, inflicted heavy losses on the Germans, took 13 prisoners of war and captured 5 German machine guns as trophies. Sharp and his platoon had successfully reached their objective and were digging in when Sharp was struck by a high explosive German shell, killing him instantly. He was 22 years old. He is buried in the La Croix Military Cemetery in France, where nearly 600 soldiers of the First World War now lie. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today here in Anzac Hall. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Harris Martin Sharp, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand and remove hats for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Tonight, our piper will play a lament for you, Flowers of the Forest, as you leave Anzac Hall. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.